In this next video we're going to look specifically at how we light the Kelly kettle or the storm kettle and talk through some of the specific safety procedures with this particular piece of kit. These can be dangerous if they're not used properly, so it's really important that if you are going to light a storm kettle or a Kelly kettle, you familiarise yourself with the safety procedures that are necessary for this. Now these come in different designs, in different brands. Generally they have some sort of bung which goes in to just keep the water warm after you've boiled it. The important thing with these is that you never boil the kettle with the bung in. There have been some quite serious accidents that have occurred because people have boiled the kettle with the bung in and the pressure builds up and then you get hot water everywhere. So I've deliberately removed the bung from mine, and you can do the same. You just need to be really clear about removing the bung before you light the kettle. Other than that, we've got the base here, which has got the air hole for the oxygen to come into the fire. I'm going to put the air hole towards me, and when I add the top with the water in it, I'm going to make sure that the spout is always facing away from me. And that's important because if the water does boil, it will bubble and sometimes it can come out from the spout. So you need to have that facing away from you. It's really important that these are stable. So find a stable, flat piece of ground where you can bed that in nicely so it's not going to wobble. And make sure that you've got some water in your kettle. Never boil them dry. If you boil them dry, the aluminium will melt and you'll end up having to throw it away. Other than that, the safety procedure is much the same to a large campfire. We've still got our water, we've got our fire blanket, and we've got our fire gloves as well. And the first aid kit is just over there. The fire gloves are really useful when these kettles get hot, and we do tend to use them to take the kettle on and off, and when we're pouring the kettle as well. So in a very much the same way as the larger fire, we're just going to build a little raft in the bottom of the fire bowl. And then build up our waffle again, so we've got that oxygen is able to get to all parts of the fire. Now you might notice that these are really thin sticks, so the Kelly kettle works best on really fine dry material. So we want to be selecting really fine, really dry wood. And once we've built our grid, we're going to use a little bit of cotton wool and Vaseline again, just to get the fire going, especially on a wet day. That Vaseline's going to help. And then some of these really fine twigs on top to take the flame. When we're adding fuel to the fire here, it's really important that you avoid having sticks that are overlapping this rim here, because when we put the kettle on, that's going to sit in that rim, and if there are sticks in the way, it will make it wobble. So make sure all of your fuel is inside the fire bowl. And when we're ready, safety check, make sure the children are all seated, and you can light the fire. Again, just placing those really small twigs on, overlapping them, to make sure plenty of oxygen can get to the fire. Sometimes these can be a bit temperamental, so we need to just keep a real close eye on it, nurture it, until we get that heat building up. So once you're happy that your fire is starting to burn and that you've got that kind of heat in the middle there, what we can do is we can add the top of the kettle on. And these act like a chimney, so we're going to put our fire gloves on, and we're going to hold the handle at right angles, so not above, because the heat's going to come straight up through the middle and burn your hand. So always hold the handle at right angles when we're transporting it on and off. And that just sits on there, like that. You can see the flame starting to come from the top there. And if you are then feeding onto the top, It's just a matter of holding it over to the side like this and then pushing the sticks into the middle so you can get that fuel down in the middle. Again, really thin twigs. And then you feed the fire until the water boils and you're ready then to remove it again. Removing the top of the kettle is exactly the same as putting it on. And take it at right angles and remove it to a safe place. Always tend to keep the fire and all of the hot things in the same area in the middle of your circle, and then obviously when you are ready you can just carefully extinguish the fire and let that cool down before you try and move it. Okay, and that's lighting the Kelly kettle.